Cultural competence is identified as the ability to understand other cultures and be aware of one's own cultural assumptions, which has been found to be important for sports psychology professionals. One particular area of interest within the sports psych literature is cross-cultural communication situations that would naturally exist between parties, such as sports psych professionals and athletes, and coaches and athletes. Communication styles differ cross-culturally, impacting how coaches and sports psych professionals interact with athletes, as well as how athletes perceive and respond to those instructions. The concept of high versus low context communication has been very helpful in allowing us to understand communicative styles in different cultural contexts. This concept was first proposed by cross-cultural researcher Edward Hall as a way of understanding different cultural orientations. Now, in Hall's earlier research, classification of countries and their respective communicative styles were made almost intuitively, like high context communication in the East and low context communication in the West. But over time, studies have focused a bit more on creating instruments that cover the major dimensions of the high versus low context culture. One, social orientation, so how deeply involved people are with each other. Two, commitment, so the cohesiveness between individuals. Three, responsibility. How will this information help sports psychology professionals communicate with athletes that do not share the same context or culture? Number one is tailored communication styles. High context cultures rely heavily on implicit communication, shared experiences, and nonverbal cues. Messages may be indirect, which means that oftentimes it depends on the context and the relationship. Now, for athletes from these cultures, a sports psych professional should pay more attention to subtle cues, the tone, and the body language, as direct feedback might be seen as confrontational or even disrespectful. Low context cultures prefer explicit, direct communication. Athletes from these cultures may expect clear and straightforward feedback and are comfortable with openly discussing issues. In this case, a sports psych professional can be a bit more direct without worrying about causing offense. Number two, building trust and relationships. High context cultures value building strong relationships before addressing sensitive topics. A sports psychology professional working with these athletes might spend more time on personal engagement and understanding the athlete's background before diving into performance issues. This helps the athlete feel respected and understood, making them more receptive. In low context cultures, however, trust may be established more through expertise and professionalism rather than personal connections. Athletes from these backgrounds may be more receptive to result-oriented communication and could feel more comfortable discussing issues straight away. Number three, adjusting feedback and motivation techniques. Athletes of high context cultures may interpret blunt feedback as too harsh, so it does help to frame feedback in a more positive, indirect manner. Motivational strategies that emphasize collective goals, group dynamics, or team unity may resonate better. For athletes of low context cultures, straightforward feedback and individual-focused motivational techniques like setting specific performance goals may be more effective. Now, while the concept of high versus low context culture could illustrate one aspect of cultural difference using a categorical approach, we must bear in mind that any culture cannot be characterized by a single concept. Nevertheless, this is an area we need to continuously educate ourselves in so that we can continue to engage in culturally sensitive practices.